Hey guys, I know it's been a while since I made a Yu-Gi-Oh video, but I've been playing a lot of GOAT format lately, and I just wanted to give my own little deck profile. I've tested it a lot with a really good player who's my best friend, who I live with, and just wanted to give my thoughts on the format. I also wanted to show off my new mat that I designed. I'm really proud of it. If you are interested in a mat like this, if you just let me know, I can give you the PDF of the image, and you can go to any of those mat makers and have them put the image on a mat for you. I think it came out really great. But the deck I'm going to be showing off is a traditional GOAT format deck, and it's highly based off of Chris's deck, which I'll have in the description, his tourney report. It is in non-Exerian format, and so let's get this on. So of course you run Blackluster Soldier and double Air Knight, which is standard for the Goat deck. I'm also running Breaker and Tribe Infecting Virus, as well as a main decked Blade Knight. If you're running Exerian format, you would cut Blade Knight, put him in the side deck for Exerian, as well as one of the flip effect monsters. But I really like the Tecton Blade Knight. You just got to be careful about when you play it versus your scapegoats, and you should be able to get value or at least eat a trap out with his threat. I'm also main decking DD Warrior Lady. I'm side decking DD Assailants, so I'm really wanting her in here just to have room in my side deck for plenty of other potential things you'll run into. You run double Tsukiyomi, which is the best number 2 Suki 2 book is tested, and that's just the best way to run it in the deck, as well as Sangan and Sinister Serpent. And for the flip effects, I'm running 2 Dekoichi. I did for a little while test 1 Dekoichi, 1 Dark Mimic level 1, which helps when you get Nobleman across out to not thin your deck too much of monsters. But level 1 Mimic, Dark Mimic level 1's level 1 factor, which is where you can be metamorphosis, rarely matters. And the body on Dekoichi is much more relevant, as he can run over other creatures, and I think it's just better to just main deck the 2 over the Dark Mimic. I'm also running Morphing Jar, which I think every GOAT player should absolutely run this card. It is a complete game changer. You can completely catch people off guard with it. You can later on kind of play games with people, like double set. You can make plays where you pro set a storm, and if they're a good player, they're gonna act accordingly as if it's Morphing Jar, if they don't have like a Nobleman across out, and then you can get value off them. This card is so good and has so many subtleties on how it plays that I don't think you should ever not run this in a standard GOAT deck. Of course, we have the 2 Magician of Faith, and also the Magical Merchant. 2 Magical Merchant, which is what Chris ran, is also fine over the Dekoichi, but I just prefer the body. Usually the light factor, and again the level 1 factor for that one change, isn't that big of a deal in almost every scenario, and the body on Dekoichi does come up, like when Sangan tries to run into it, or when you need him to run over other smaller creatures. So that's the ratios that I've found to be optimal for most games. On to the spells. Of course, we have the Trinity, which everyone just runs. You have to. They're too good not to. Triple Metamorphosis and double Scapegoat. Triple Scapegoat gets a little bit clunky. It's not the worst thing to run it, but Air Knight does hurt, as well as randomly protect Azura Priestess. It's better to side deck that for aggressive decks. Double Nobleman across out, double Book of Moon, Snatch and Premature Burial, and Heavy Storm MSC. This is a super standard spell lineup for GOAT format. The traps are the same way. It's the same as Chris's, which is double Dust. Dust Tornado is super important if you run Air Knight. You need to avoid using Dust at the end phase unless you have some kind of play that you have to push through, like Dust Tornado, summon Blade Knight, so you can successfully get through their flip effect. Otherwise, you should be holding this to do it on the play that you're going to. You need to make this card have momentum. It's the same thing with MST. You need to catch their snatch steal, their preemie, their calls with this card, and you need to open up key moments in the game. So don't just use that card as it comes, unless you have a real good reason to. Devil Sakuretsu Armor and Mirror Force. Again, this is all standard build, Torrential Ring and Call the Haunted. So I think the only difference is I'm running 41 cards in this deck so that I have room for Blade Knight and DD Assailant in my main deck, and I'm running Dekoichi over the second Merchant compared to Chris's deck. I personally have always not felt that running 41 versus 40 is that big of a difference. I do know there's a small statistical difference between them, but the value of having more room in your side deck, especially in such a diverse metagame as GOAT as it is in modern day, I think that heavily outweighs the cons of that. On the extra deck, you don't really need a lot. You know, a lot of people just show up with a lot. I have mine at 15 cards, just so you know what I run, like on Join Book, as far as for room. So you run the 3,000 odds restrict, level 3, which I just run Wicked Knight because he's the largest one, the level 4 Darkfire. I run 2 Dark Bolter just so if one gets booked and I have Metamorphosis, or something of that nature, if I swing with it and I book it to save it, I can still meta into the second one if I need to. It's a real rare play, but if you need to lock down spells for the next turn but you're also pushing, then that is something that will come up occasionally. 1 Fiend Skull, 1 Reaper, 1 Rao Senshi, 1 Dark Blade, 1 Ojama King, Last Warrior, which is super important, which I'll go over in a minute. I run King Dragoon and Gotling Dragon. You only really need one of all those except Thousand Eyes, and again, Dark Bolter is the most important one that you might go into 2 of them in a single turn. For the side deck, I run Jinzo, which is just for any decks that are trap heavy. A lot of the more roguey decks, like the Warrior Beatdown decks, run a lot of traps, so it's good to have him for those. Right now, I'm running double Spell Canceller and double Cyber Sign. These are for the OTK kind of decks, like the ones that run Magical Library to try to burn you, or Empty Jar, or the Reasoning Monster Gate Turbo decks. This can shut it down. You side out Air Knight for the Spell Cancellers, you side in your Cyber Signs against the more aggressive of those that summon monsters, like Reasoning Monster Gate. Cyber Sign into Last Warrior can just simply be a win if they don't have an immediate answer to that. I am thinking about cutting one of these to put a third of one copy in, and to put a third Trap Dust Shoot into my side deck. But so far this has been working really well for me, at least. I do run 2 Kaiku for the Chaos matchup, as well as for the any kind of deck, like a rogue deck like Zombies or something, that tries to get into its graveyard. I do think Kaiku is a good card. I know a lot of people haven't been citing it as much lately, but I still have had major success with it. I also run 2 DD Assailant. This is to go with DD Warrior Lady, which is for the beatdown decks. It really helps to trade off their aggressive pushes early game, 1-for-1, so that you can win the long game. I also run double Creature Swap and a third Scapegoat, which is all for aggressive decks. Any deck that doesn't run Scapegoat, this can immediately turn around their momentum. It's really strong. I don't know what else I would side. I tried siding Bottomless Trap Hole, which is really hit and miss if you draw it at the right time and they don't blow it away with a giant Trunade or an MSC or a heavy. I feel like this is the most like consistent way to get through, because you can't just giant Trunade a Scapegoat for those sort of OTK-ish kind of decks. And like I said, I do run double Dust Shoot for when I go first, which would be 3 if I did that switch for one of the Spell Cancelers or Cyber Sign. And right now I'm running a third Dust just for trap heavy decks, or any kind of deck that relies on some sort of continuous or field spell trap. This is definitely the most cuttable card immediately. This could be a third Cyber Sign or Spell Canceller. I just kind of have it as a filler right now, as a third Dust really never hurts for general matchups. But that's really all that I had for this video. I've been having a lot of fun playing GOAT format at my locals, as well as on Join Book. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you take care.